Good evening. After a few false starts tonight on this presentation, I have decided to forego the notes and try to talk about caring and nursing in a very real aspect. Just as I was sitting down to record this video tonight, I received the news that one of my favorite patients had passed away after dialysis yesterday morning. And I do want to tell you a little bit about him, but first I'm going to very quickly try to cover the rubric requirements and just kind of get through this. Elie Wiesel, the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. It's a quote that has posted all over Facebook and debated all over Reddit and every site where people take their opinions. Personally, I think it's overanalyzed. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Indifference causes us to disengage. And indifference has many different reasons. Sometimes indifference is just a result of caregiver exhaustion. It doesn't reflect our values. It's just where we land. We have to watch out for each other. It is exhausting to be wrapped up and invested in another person's healing process. And commitment and caring are indelibly tied to veracity and to advocacy. And sometimes that gets you in the weeds. Sometimes that makes you unpopular. And it doesn't make you wrong. But it can make you alone. We have to watch out for ourselves. We have to watch out for each other. We have to practice self-care. Jean Watson from Welch, West Virginia, postdoctoral scholar at the University of Colorado, has a very, very intricate and decades-long in development the science of caring, and I encourage you to look into it. It is wordy, but it is a result of an international effort, and it is there is a postdoctoral certificate that is offered by the University of Colorado in the science of caring based on Jean Watson's studies. But what does Jean Watson say directly to nurses? That number one is self-care. And sometimes we have to remind each other. You have to watch out for each other, because I think that burnout becomes so normal. Compassion, exhaustion becomes so normal that we don't recognize it ourselves. So if you see somebody struggling, say something. As they say in AA, you can't transmit what you haven't received. If you don't have it tonight, or if you don't have it tomorrow, then don't feel like you have to pretend you do. Because in my opinion, it is better to rest and take your PTO or whatever you need to do and be good to yourself. So I'm going to break down caring into 6 commonly accepted aspects very quickly. Empathy, respect, compassion, holistic care, communication, and advocacy. We've covered compassion and advocacy, communication. First thing to go when I'm tired. I mean, the depths that I'm reaching for now to formulate sentences is challenging. Empathy and respect. If you can't find any other common ground with your patient, please remember that there are only a few events between you and that bed. And there are only a few biological processes between you and that confusion state. You have something in common with anyone you encounter. And if you don't have time to figure out what any of it is, you're human. And that is at the heart of nursing care. It is a promotion of human health. I think that's about all I'm capable of tonight. Do look into Gene Watson. As far as my good friend goes, I brought him home from Encompass out of the ICU about 3 years ago. And I transported him to dialysis pretty frequently over the last few years. He never was able to walk. He was an ex-medic, and he had nearly drank himself to death. And he would tell everybody that he was, well, I can't tell you what he said, but it started with an A and was considered inappropriate for polite company. But in truth, he was the most ridiculously caring person. He could come off a dialysis with a blood pressure of 60/40 and look like wall paint, and put him in the back of the truck and sit down beside him. And if you didn't look like you were having a bad day or a good day, then he would still be concerned for you. He was concerned for us when we lifted him. He was concerned about his presentation. He was always, and to the very end, a caregiver. So when you're all out of reasons, when I'm all out of reasons, I remember I will be lucky to make it to that bed and have a good nurse. And if that's not enough, then it is time to take some time off and take care of me. Good night.